All right, what is going on? That took a little longer than usual because I had to go and share this in a couple of Facebook groups because I'm running a little behind. But welcome to this week's Amazon News and Q&A show where myself, Chris Grant, and my Radamanthine co-host, Chris Rasick, answer your questions and go over a couple of pieces of news. Chris, thanks for finding your own adjective this week since I'm running a little bit behind.
No, it's the least I can do. At least the intro music is a banger, right?
Right. Yeah, it's not too shabby. But as usual, and apologies, things are a little disjointed today. I'm traveling, and so we've got a different background and things like that. But we wanted to make sure the show goes on. So we've got some news items for you guys. The very first one is Amazon Accelerate 2024 is on the horizon yet again. It comes up in September 9th or 17th through the 19th, to be exact. It's going to be in Seattle, Washington, at home base, at the Ivory Towers, if you will. And this gives you an opportunity to network with fellow sellers, of course, receive personalized one-on-one support from Amazon subject matter experts. That part they did not write in quotation marks, but I read it as in quotation marks. And of course, discover the newest announcements that Amazon is making to quote unquote help your business. I have heard good things about this in the past. It cost $499 right now, up until July 14th. If you want to go, if you do want to go, I will support you 100% in spirit. If there is a mass protest or some sort of, I would not suggest that you try to run up on stage or anything like that. But if there was, maybe everyone wears the same T-shirt to protest the new fees this year, I think it would be really, really funny, and it would probably get some headlines in some articles, I would imagine.
What do they do in England? They like throw paint and stuff on politicians, and we're not advocating for that, of course.
No, do not glue yourself to Andy Jassy or Jeff Bezos. That would probably not be a good thing. Hilarious, but not a good thing. Now, the other piece of news that I have, and it's going to be a little light on my end this week, is Subscribe and Save. If you are not familiar with Subscribe and Save, I know that a lot of folks who probably watch us are doing a lot more arbitrage and probably not taking the time to do things like PPC, or not taking the time to set up Subscribe and Save unless you are really good at replens. And if you are, then I would suggest this program because it can be very, very helpful to automatically get or fulfillments every single month. But the Subscribe and Save program is going to be expanding to include eligible seller fulfilled products starting June 27th, in just a couple of less than 2 weeks. And so what this means is that you can offer Subscribe and Save to items. Let's say, for example, I'm trying to think of something. Vitamin C is something that I subscribe and save to. And automatically, every single month, a new bottle of Dr. Mercola shows up on the doorstep without me having to do anything. And I get like a 5% discount for that. Well, Amazon is going to automatically enroll any of your eligible replenishable products at a default discount that's set in your Subscribe and Save settings. I don't know what that default discount is, but if you have set it up before, it's going to be in there, which means you may get some of these and not even know it. Okay, so you have until June 27th to check. And Amazon's also going to fund an additional 5% discount for customers who have 5 or more subscriptions, meaning you won't have to pay for it. Amazon will go ahead and pay for it themselves. And it'll be a 0% seller funded discount. Now, here's the thing. Maybe you don't want to take advantage of this program, so you have to opt out of automatic enrollment and you need to do that before the June 27 launch. Otherwise, you're going to have to abide by it.
So what are let's talk about the downsides and advantages. Have you analyzed it that far? Like why would you opt out? Like what kind of pressure does this put on a seller?
In my opinion, I don't think it necessarily puts any pressure on a seller, because if you do not have it in stock, it goes to the next person. It's not like you absolutely have to keep it in stock that I'm aware of. It's been a while since I've really looked into the subscribe and save program. So I'm not sure that it would be any issue to take advantage of this. The only thing I could think is that maybe you've set up some subscribe and save products in the past, and your discount is too heavy, and you don't realize it. And so someone gets a 15% discount, and there goes your margin.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. But is Amazon covering the discount? That comes
Amazon,
right off your own bottom line?
Yes, that discount comes off your bottom line, unless the customer has that 5 or more subscriptions, and then Amazon gives them an additional 5% on their dime rather than the seller's dime.
Okay. So it might be a little dicey. From my experience, not that I've dug in to it very much, but it seems like the products that are subscribe and save eligible are kind of thin margins to begin with. So it may be something that you want to monitor. Yeah, I guess knowing that, I guess I could see certain products wanting to opt out. If you're running pretty thin already.
Yeah, and Luke brings up a good point. You could definitely see pricing being an issue. If you update your price, does the Amazon customer pay that updated price? I'm not sure. I've never had a price changed on my subscribe and save that I'm aware of. At least I haven't noticed, and I should probably go and take a look. I only subscribe and save to one product. I tend to be I don't like things automatically hitting the credit card as much as possible. So it's only like one item that I've ever done it on. So,
and just a side note, Dr. Mercola is a quack. You should look into a different brand of vitamin C. I prefer the free vitamin C from the Walgreens cache. That's usually that's what I usually use that stuff. It's not automatically delivered, but I'll take that for free.
Right. Yeah. I'm not necessarily a fan of his. I just like the high big capsules. Okay. The next one is good news, in my opinion. This one sounds kind of harsh, but I think that a lot of people, as a matter of fact, I can think of a couple of Twitter follows that I follow on Twitter are going to be super happy about this. But we all know that USPS loses millions of dollars a year, and a lot of it is due to counterfeit postage and fraudulent labels. Matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about an operation that I think they did fraudulent labels to the tune of $150 million or something like that. Well, the USPS is going to be cracking down on this. So starting August 1st, to address any unpaid and counterfeit postage, the USPS will validate payment documentation in real time. Packages that are unmanifested at the time of the first scan at a USPS facility will be intercepted and subject to disposal. The packages will not re-enter the mail system, and shippers will not be reimbursed for any late postage payments made and or any resulting losses. There's only going to be some extreme circumstances or special circumstances where those packages might be retrieved. So once they go into this black hole, that's it. You're out of luck. Now, I know that USPS is technically private, but they seem to run like a government agency. So I'm expecting some hiccups and some bumps along the way. However, I'm sure that the people who are using fraudulent labels on a large scale are likely not paying attention to this, because this isn't just like on the Postal Service's website. This is buried back in some postalprocenter.usps.com in a PDF viewer online, because apparently, the Postal Service still uses a website from 1998. And so I would imagine they don't know this. And so what I foresee happening is those people who are using fraudulent postage at scale, they're going to lose, a dozen or 2 dozen or 100 packages before they even realize this, and then they're going to get their shipping privileges revoked from Amazon for those of them who are on Amazon. They're going to have to refund the customers, money that maybe they don't have, or hopefully they do. And I would imagine maybe even lose their accounts for not shipping the orders. Uh, so all in all, this seems like a good thing. I just have no idea why it's taken the U.S. Postal Service this many years to implement something like this.
Yeah, no kidding. I was just talking about the USPS in my newsletter. I shared an article about their shift to packages as they try to dig themselves out, and the numbers were they've lost like $78 billion over the last 17 years. So, I mean, how has upgrading, fraud discovery or fraud prevention, how has it not been fast tracked? Before this, I mean, they even built a 1 million square foot sorting facility in Atlanta, and this plan to move towards more parcels, more packages. They've invested $40 billion in this plan to try to become profitable, and all those resources, they never thought to go, you know what, maybe we should stop the fake packages that we're shipping for free, because there's no revenue from there whatsoever. The one,
Right.
I think this it'll have an immediate impact, immediate positive impact. Obviously, long-term positive impact, of course. The one thing I do worry about is accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
Knowing, just because we're dealing with the USPS, I do worry about a bad scan, or a false positive reading. You get your sticker a little folded or something. What kind of mechanism do they use? Is it a flat out no registration after a scan, or that's the one part I would worry about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's almost like the U.S. Postal Service is run by the likes of Adam Newman from WeWork, but worse, which is amazing to me. Yeah.
And way less, not nearly as many good moves as his companies.
Right. So that's all I got. Did you happen to have anything this week? Oh, by the way, great newsletter this week. I thought it was fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I 2 in a row, like same time, like exactly a week later. I don't know. I surprised myself. So, but thank you. At there was an article. I don't know if you get. I think you get Retail Dive emails, and they had an article, and I almost blew right by it because it was about Too Faced being enrolling in the Amazon Premium Beauty, right? And I believe we already got the email about Too Faced, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that's been at least a couple weeks now. So it wasn't really news. I almost blew by it, but I just opened it just to take a look at what the content was, and I thought it was interesting because, they mentioned it's yet another Estee Lauder brand. Amazon again, restated the information that Amazon is slated to overtake Walmart as far as like the top selling beauty marketplace. But the one thing that I thought was interesting was that as part of this move to Amazon's premium beauty, Too Faced hired, um, you know, somebody McGlittery or something, some sort of influencer, right? So, and that kind of, I kind of paused at that point because the dots kind of connected between, TikTok shopping, social media influencer, and shopping directly, because I separately I saw on Twitter somebody posted something about trying to sell on TikTok or trying to sell through live feeds through on social media, and the problem is that people, when they watch these social media pieces, they go straight to Amazon, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this, and the piece was talking about how it doesn't make sense, if you have your own website and you think you're going to funnel sales to your own website, guess what? You're going to be disappointed because these people are jumping straight to Amazon. So those two pieces together, Estee Lauder is taking these brands, they're moving to Amazon Premium, and then you attach an influencer to it, and then all of a sudden you've got Instagram Lives, you've got TikToks and stuff like that, funneling people to Amazon, which is where they would have gone already. And I I can see how effective that'll be. How
Yep.
topical. As far as the modern, the modern customer, the
Mm-hmm.
modern consumer, and how important social media is to the younger crowd, which is finally coming into their own disposable income and making these purchases. And I wonder how much of a bite of the overall e-commerce pie something like that'll take.
That's a good question. It's also it's nice to be able to kind of step back and kind of see this whole thing come together, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, okay, why, at first it was, well, why is this happening? What the heck's going on? And now we've kind of got the whole picture. They just
Mhm.
want to get more of the pie because they know that people are going to Amazon. What I'd like to know is what C-suite executive thought that, oh well, we're going to hire influencers and they're going to push people to our website. Uh, what idiot thought that was the case when the data is out there that people go directly from social media to Amazon? Uh,
Right.
I mean, who's going to buy from Estee Lauder? I mean, who can spell EsteeLauder.com? And they've got the Amazon app right on their phone. Uh, so
Exactly. Exactly. But it's just, it's interesting to see, and maybe I just don't have vision like some of these people, but you remember it was not quite a year ago, but Amazon, those articles about Amazon wanting to get, bring their own version of TikTok to their platform, and it's like,
mhm.
uh, what are you guys thinking? And then as this stuff rolls out and stuff connects, and it's interesting to see, it's kind of like the light bulb moment. It's like, oh, not only does that make sense now, that could really, really work.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to see higher prices, which they'll like, and it'll be able to take care of the Amazon fees that are going to be charged to what they're selling over there, or whether I don't know whether they're selling first party or whether they're going to sell third party, but be able to take care of those. The only person who's really going to end up paying is going to be the consumer. They're going to pay higher prices on Amazon for those products than they would have paid from third party sellers. But the
Right.
consumer doesn't know that, doesn't realize that. The only people who realize that are us. The people who are sticking it to them with coupon codes and sales and all that stuff. So
Yeah. And I wonder, I mean, if based on my own personal experience, which my own personal experience is the credit card bills from my wife, shopping on social media, apparently, price isn't really one of the factors in making that buying decision from
it's
what
all
I've seen.
it's all about the feels, man. You get
Yeah.
you get punched right in the good vibes, and you just go hit the buy button.
Yep. It's a, who knew QVC was such a pioneer, because that's all the stuff is. At least the
Oh,
stuff my wife is watching. They're just trying this
decades
stuff
ahead of
on,
its
and
time.
just yeah, revolutionary.
When I was very very young, my mother had it was either an HSN or a QVC. she had, I mean, it was an issue, is what it was. It was not just oh, that seemed now. It was an issue, and even I knew it when I was like 5 years old. Uh,
Right.
but I would sit there and watch these people, because my mom was watching them, and I'm just like, it was crazy. And now that's what people do, like for fun, just to get a cheap hit of dopamine.
Yeah. Yeah. The other bit of news, I don't know if anybody watches this, or the Fed did not cut the prime rate. There was, I believe, there was a surprising jobs report that kind of killed any what little momentum there was. But if anybody doesn't realize the connection, those are all connected to your credit card interest rates, and a lot
Mhm.
of interest rates. But in the Amazon space, if the Fed starts cutting rates, which they thought this year would have at least a few initially, um, your credit card rates will immediately go down, um, or very shortly after the announcement. You'll see your credit cards come down. So, but the cool kids don't carry debt. No, actually, the nerds don't carry debt. The cool kids carry debt, because I don't know how you scale without it. But
Right.
oh, and another, not to just poach my newsletter, but if you saw the article about that new Small Business Administration, they're rolling out a
Yes,
pilot
that is going to
program.
be awesome.
Yeah, and we've talked about it before. I talk about my SBA line of credit anytime I can, because it's been fantastic. Um, so there's a new pilot program for anybody that didn't read the newsletter. Um, Number one, you should sign up, and number two, this pilot program from the SBA is it's better than the existing products, because here's the problem. Not a lot of, they're administered through banks. Like I do my business banking through Huntington Bank, and they just happen to mention it. So I was like, well, yeah, let's try it. And sure enough, I was only a part-time seller. I had barely over a year's worth of sales data, but I had decent personal credit, and they ran the numbers, and they gave me a line of credit, which was 20% of my annual sales, gross sales. So
That's
whatever.
solid.
Yeah, they're going to look at your orange bars over the last 12 months, and if you're approved and it goes through, you'll get 20% of that, which that was pretty strong. I was really pleased. Paperwork was reasonable, right? And this is the existing program. This is the old program. Those only have a guarantee from the Small Business Administration, the SBA, of 50%. Okay, which means if the loan goes bad, only 50% of the line of credit is insured for Huntington Bank, right? So you can see the trepidation that the banks would have. It's nice to get
Mhm.
half of it back, but if it was more, obviously they would feel better about it. So these new ones now will have guarantees somewhere in the 75% to 85% range. So what you might see is more banks offering these products. That's a
Mhm.
much better guarantee. You think mortgage finance, anything over 80%, you have to have private mortgage insurance, from your conventional lenders. So they're actually getting into that range, the 75 to 85% guarantee range. So, and it's up to $5 million, these lines. As far, I don't know, I assume the terms are probably going to be pretty similar to one I have. I have a 5-year draw period, which, from what they told me, is it's pretty easy to renew, and I can even resubmit sales numbers and get it bumped up. They made that sound pretty simple too. So, and it's a small margin over the prime rate. Again, connected back to Mr. Powell and the Fed. Mine's 10.5% right now. So, which is probably going to be about
Heck of a lot
half of
better
what.
than a credit card.
Exactly. So, and I don't think anybody wants to admit it, that they're carrying debt. It's kind of frowned upon in public. Um, but I, like I said in my newsletter, I don't know how you scale without at least carrying a little bit of debt. Like unless you
Mhm.
sunk a whole bunch of your personal funds in when you started, or you're doing a whole bunch of your FBM, and you're a major MFer, I don't see how you don't end up carrying at least a little bit, because even just the timing alone of how long it takes to get your money back through and run through the Amazon cycle. So I don't know if you agree with that.
I would agree with that. Yeah, 100%. I would agree with that. I mean, maybe you're playing with due dates on credit cards a little bit and moving things around to try to pay as little interest as possible. But unless you have daily payouts, I've never seen anybody not have to at least pay some interest if they're being honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it is. So now we want to transition a little bit, and of course, if you guys have questions, I've seen a couple come through. But if you have questions, make sure to drop them in the comments. We'll answer anything we can about Keepa, Amazon, online arbitrage, retail arbitrage, wholesale, whatever we can do to help you guys out. So let's go ahead and let's answer this first one here. The first one is, I've come to an agreement where somebody right now will be doing prep for me. I don't think they have an LLC or anything. What's the best way to go about paying them? So I'm going to guess that you are probably, you're talking about someone who may come to your house, who is technically going to be your employee. So the right way to go about it would be to set them up as an employee, pay them, a set amount of money, use something like Gusto or something similar so that payroll taxes are all taken care of and everything is above board. And that's probably going to be the best way to take care of them. What you actually do and what the right thing to do is totally up to you, but that's the right way to go about it. Now, if it's a business and you're sending things to them, well, then they really, that one gets tough because I've had contractors come to my home. Matter of fact, I had a guy come to the house and cut down some palm branches this year. Superman Sam is what he goes by. And I have no idea whether he has an LLC. I know he's got insurance. And I just cut him a check. And in that case, that's on him. I've paid for a service. It's on him to report his income to the IRS. And just like the bowling alley that only takes cash, that's probably in your neighborhood, that's on them. So it depends. If they're coming into your home, I treat them like an employee. If it is a business, they put up a shingle and things like that, just pay them straight up, keep track of it, and that's on them to figure out filing. Thank you for doing these live sessions. Happy to. I enjoy these sessions. Why does Amazon keep some of our inventory as reserve instead of active? Well, there could be several reasons, but the most common, if you have inventory in reserve, is most likely some sort of fulfillment center transfer. So it's probably things transferring from fulfillment center to fulfillment center, or it's just things that maybe are sitting on the dock at a warehouse that has not been totally checked in yet. Am I missing anything? Is there any other reason why they might reserve something that's not been sold already?
I mean, there's a bunch of different categories. I mean, I assume we're specifically talking about reserve because there's like research and there's a couple other ones, but I assume we're only talking about reserve.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't think of anything else under that category.
When ungating, how do you know which companies send invoices? Well, the only ones that you can guarantee are going to send invoices are going to be wholesale suppliers. The EE distributions of the world. There's a couple others that are. Motengna is another one. They do a lot of sports and outdoors stuff that just kind of lets anybody who has a pulse open an account. UDP Wholesale, I think, or UDP Inc. Those places are going to send invoices. Your soccer.com, your Nike.com, those kind of places, they're not necessarily going to send invoices, but you also don't necessarily need invoices. Amazon does seem to accept order confirmations with shipping confirmations and delivery confirmations all together. So, if it's from a legitimate source, Amazon seems to accept it. And I think I've said this in the past. I was regated for Amazon a couple weeks ago. I have waited long enough, and it's time to go through the ungating process rather than hoping this goes away. And so, you know, when I go to get ungated, it actually says that they will accept a receipt. It doesn't say just invoice. It says invoice or receipt. So,
And you're talking about Nike, right?
I'm talking specifically about Nike, is what
Yeah,
where it
you
says that.
said
Yes.
you said gated in Amazon, so I assumed you meant Nike. So, all right. And another cool thing is when you save order confirmations that you receive an email as a PDF, uh, pretty much anything when you save the file can become an invoice. So, and
Mm-hmm.
that's as far as meaning you title it, you know, Foot Locker invoice, and what you're saving is the order confirmation. That's enough sometimes.
You got to remember, the people who approve these or deny these, they're not 100% of the time going through it like a grade school teacher does with a red pen.
Right.
It sometimes it's automated. Sometimes it is just a no to get it off their inbox and into the outbox. Um, my opinion of seller support is it probably looks a whole lot like a Dilbert cartoon. There is there's a lot of work going on, and there's not a whole lot of brains that are being used to get that work done. So I keep getting an email stating that I should update my information for Europe when I only sign up to sell on Amazon America. What should I do? I would ignore it, and I believe that you can turn Europe off. I don't remember how. I do not have UK turned on in my account. I shut that down years ago, but I wouldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, I think I try to turn everything off. Still can't get Canada shut off, and
Mm-hmm.
can't get rid of Brazil, no matter what I do.
Amazon Con One. I have the basic plan for my repricer. When should I upgrade my plan? Uh, well, I don't know what repricer you have, so I'm not sure what their requirements are. Um, and this is a very difficult question for me to answer without knowing what repricer, what kind of level sales you're at, looking at their sales page to see when you're going to be forced to upgrade and what you get for that upgrade. So I apologize. I'm not going to be able to answer that one very well.
Yeah, that can be a little bit tough to because I'm grandfathered in at an extremely low price. In fact, I mean it's more than tripled since I signed up for my repricer, and it's kind of a weird situation. Like I love what Aura's doing. I would love to give it a try, but I have a hard time stomaching the thought of giving up that super cheap price. So
Right.
you got to kind of gauge it. I mean, what I'm saying is it's tough to tell if your repricer isn't doing enough for you without
Mm-hmm.
trying something else. My biggest fear is that there's a world of sales. There's just a significant percentage bump that I'm missing out on because I am frugal.
And there's something else to think about. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of Aura. Matter of fact, Aura is the sponsor for today's show. If you want to give Aura a try, if you're under $10,000 a month in sales, you can do it for $27 a month, which is an absolute no-brainer to be able to get access to a real artificially intelligent, and learning repricer. And if you're over $10,000 a month, you can use the code CTS and you'll get a 20% discount for the first 3 months. Link is in the show notes. There's the shameless plug for this week. But, one of the other things to think about, and this doesn't matter what repricer you use, if you switch from one repricer to another, there's this honeymoon phase, in my opinion. where, a different sort of algorithm or a different AI takes over and you end up seeing a bump, for whatever reason. I don't know if it's just magic on the Amazon back end, if it's just because, it is repricing in a different way. And so it's novel to Amazon, or I have no idea. But I noticed that when people change repricers, they often see a bump. And then we have something called recency bias kick in. And oh, well, the very last thing that I tried was the best thing for me because it worked out, in my favor. And that's not always the case. Sure, you may see a bump for a little while. Maybe you go in and reprice some stale inventory and make it a little bit more aggressive, and you don't keep that top of mind while you get this little bump in orange bars. And then it's like, oh, well, it moved that inventory for me, but 3 months down the road, is it still working? So my suggestion is, if you're going to try a repricer, try it for a period of like 3 months, or try it on a set of ASINs that you can then also try a similar set of ASINs with another one and see which one is working out better for you. Mohammed, I accidentally entered the wrong weight in a shipment, and since 24 hours have passed, it won't allow me to edit it. Anything to do about this? Should I open a case or something else? Um, Man, I would probably open a case. I don't think there's anything else you can do about that. Um, I use a prep center, so I'd be uh, pounded on the door a bit trying to figure out what's going on, but I don't know if you can do anything else but open a case. Oregon Riser. When I submit an invoice and photo for a Nike product to Amazon, Amazon gives me permission to sell it. And then when I want to sell another Nike product, do I have to show an invoice and 10 photos? No, you should not have to. One and done should be the case in most cases.
There will be stuff like Jordan Brand has its own gating process, and you'll find individual ASINs that are gated sometimes with Nike specific. That is.
Yeah. Why don't you get a bunch of 0% APR business credit cards instead of getting an SBA loan? Chris, you want to handle that one?
Yeah, I do that. So it's kind of a compliment to the two. There is people worry about credit inquiries a little bit too much. That it's only about a 4 to 6 point hit per inquiry, and it only sticks around for a couple of months at best. But I know people are sensitive to how many inquiries they have. There is a point where you're going to have to pay all that stuff back, right? So you have to ask yourself. Now, I mean, if you're just carrying a little bit of debt, you could probably just bump it from, first 12 months, 0 APR, card to card to card, and you'll be okay. But you have to consider the end game as well. You're going to have to pay those balances off. If there's any kind of significant balance, you can only transfer it so many times, really. You can transfer it a lot of times, but it is a finite number. And then you have to, what I like about the line of credit is, even if I'm not using it, it's there, so it's a high 5-figure access to capital if I need it, if I'm not actively using it in my debt management and in my cash flow system, right? So if I get everything squared and I get scaled up to where I want, and my credit card, I'm not carrying debt, the 0% APR period of time is going to end. Usually that's only 12 months on most cards. However, you get a 5-year draw period. So kind of long term, I like the idea of the line of credit, that if I wanted to try private label, if I needed tens of thousands of dollars, I had it at a reasonable interest rate, or if I wanted to jump into wholesale and maybe I wasn't as liquid as I wanted to. That line of credit now increases my liquidity significantly, again, at a reasonable interest rate. So it has its advantages, I think, in my opinion. But that's a great point. There are a ton of 0% APR for 12 months. You can kind of run that train for quite a while, and it's definitely beneficial. That's a really good thought, Jeffrey.
Vera, can't figure out which prep center in Delaware to go with. Any recommendation from anyone? The only prep center that I'm aware of that I know of for sure that I could say, oh yeah, go use these folks is Prime Zero Prep in Delaware. That is. I don't really know of any others out that way that I can refer people to.
PZP is New Hampshire.
Oh, that's right, New Hampshire.
Although
I don't know
I
anybody
believe,
out of Delaware then.
All that stuff's so compacted. I think you can stand in 3 states at the same time at the Delaware Water Club,
right?
I believe. Not that that helps Vera at all.
When people talk about states in the Northeast like that, I'm just like, that's all the same place. Like Rhode Island, like, is that really? That's not a real place, and I've been there.
I had a buddy that he lives in Delaware, or no, he lives in Connecticut, works in Delaware, and I took a trip to Philly, back to Villanova, and he was like, "Oh, why didn't you tell me? I'll zip over." It's like, zip over? Like, how many
Isn't
states
that
can you cut?
4 states away?
Yeah, it's my geography. It just, I can't compute the New England.
I've been only buying product online arbitrage that are 4 stars and above on Amazon. Do you align your buying with ratings? And if you source products less than 4 stars, when or what types of products will you give consideration? I almost don't consider the number of stars at all. Let me throttle that back for a moment. If I were sourcing shoes and clothes heavily, I would probably take it more into account, because if you get let's say you get a Ralph Lauren t-shirt and it's got 2 stars, I'm going to go in and take a look and be like, well, what's going on here? Did one seller sell a bunch of counterfeit or garbage product, or are people just unhappy about the price? I've sold products that are 1 star. It's just people complaining about the price because they didn't want to, little Timmy wanted this Paw Patrol toy and it's 3 times the price on Amazon, and they're complaining, well, I can't find it at Target. Like, yeah, well, welcome to the free market, lady. So that's why I don't really care about it too much.
Yeah, like the thing about 1-star reviews, not only are they usually entertaining to read, they're not created equally. Like a 1-star review, like the example that you gave, it's about price. Like, oh, this is a bunch of BS. These are $10 at Walmart. Blah blah blah. That's like a 1-star review without the risk of the product being returned is harmless to me, in my opinion. It's the bad reviews that kind of indicate that they're probably going to return it. And chances are there's probably going to be a frequently returned item, a little pop-up from Amazon that's going to accompany it. But yeah, I'm with you, Chris. I don't look at stars at all. I remember the first time I shared a lead in a group, and I was just tossing stuff up, and a seller that I respected, a very big seller, was like, I don't sell anything under 3.5 stars. And I was like, oh, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. They're stars. Like I didn't even consider it. Like I essentially don't care.
Yeah. The only other time I may consider it is if the listing is confusing to me as a seller. Let's say you get a makeup product and you're like, oh, is this # NC20 or is this # NC21? I can't really tell by the title or the picture. Well, let's go in and let's look at all the other things. Well, it's not in the little data points. It's not in the description. All right, let's go see what buyers were expecting. And if half of them are like, I didn't get NC20, and the other half are like, I didn't get NC21, then I may move on from it, because it doesn't matter which one I sell. someone's going to be unhappy about it.
Yeah, and that's probably what it is. Usually, when I'm evaluating a listing and I'm sourcing, typically you get a good idea of what the rating's going to look like when you finally do look at it. Because you'll go, what is it? You're trying to discern the title, and you're trying to find out, is this a multi-pack or was it a multi-pack at one point? Orphan list and all this sort of stuff. And over time, you kind of get a feel for what that rating is going to look like, and then I'll finally go to the reviews. I'm like, this has got to be bad, or this is solid.
Right.
Either way.
Christy, I have an order that was placed June 5th from a business customer that is awaiting payment confirmation. How long before Amazon cancels that order? That is a question that only the gods can answer, unfortunately. I have seen orders be held for up to 8 months. That is very, very rare. That's an outlier. Okay. But normally I think it's something like 2 weeks or 30 days, and then they end up releasing it back if payment hasn't been had. But if it's from a business customer, it's also possible that they have a net 30 term with Amazon. You can get net 30 terms with Amazon really easy as a business customer, and maybe it's just maybe it's been sent to the customer. Maybe it's just on net 30 and you don't get paid for 30 days. The best question of the week: where can we get Chris Rasick's newsletter?
So I don't know if it's in I've never actually looked at the show notes. But you can go to my website, oaleads247.com, oaleads247. And that main sign up, that'll get you locked in. You kind of default to getting everything. You'll get one-time lists, any kind of news. You'll get the newsletter, and then you can fine tune that through the preferences if you only want one or the other. So. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, that was a perfect softball. And your payment's on the way. Richie, how can I save money on shipping to FBA? I'm not using the split shipments. I'm using free or optimized shipments, and I'm paying $1.50 a pound. Well, my suggestion would be that you probably need to do some testing, and check out if doing a 3 split is and maybe let's say you're on the East Coast. Maybe doing a 3 split to the East Coast is actually going to cost you less money than even with the inventory placement fees. And if that's the case, then I would go that route. But you're going to have to test and see what works best for you. Because $1.50 a pound seems a little bit high unless you're selling a lot of shoes or light, bulky products. I would expect like large teddy bears to be even more than $1.50 a pound going forward.
Large teddy bears. How much are you to ship, big guy?
Right.
Speaking of teddy bears.
I've reached out to Ashland Haddon for insurance. No response yet. Anyone else I can try? I'm telling you, I have thought about reinstating my insurance license to help Amazon sellers, but so I happen to use my local insurance agent. I happen to have State Farm insurance down here in Florida, and I asked them if they would cover an Amazon business, and they said yes. So I went with them and just wrapped everything up into one. But you could also reach out to Hiscox, HISCOX. You can try Next Insurance. I'm actually trying to get them on the podcast so we can talk about the wonderful world of insurance, which will probably be a snooze fest. But and hopefully they don't see this. And then there are some others through Amazon's Insurance Accelerator that you could reach out to. Hiscox, there's one other one I'm thinking of. But if you have a broker that you use locally, I would reach out to them and give them the business before going to a specialty carrier. I try to give people the business who have helped me along the most, which is my local broker.
Yeah, I use Next and Vera. I will tell you one thing: once Ashland Haddon does respond, they will never stop.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it much easier for most people, to get 0% APR business credit cards instead of an SBA loan? Yeah, probably is. Here's a good question. Pallet fly for wholesale. So when I saw this pop up, I did a quick Google search for pallet fly because the name sounded familiar, and their title is Pallet Fly Sourcing Simplified. And then I go to their website, and they have like FBA lists, or FBA, daily FBA list. As soon as I see that kind of stuff, I'm out, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I have no idea where they're actually sourcing from. And they say, you're buying from wholesale suppliers, but are they actually buying liquidation? And if that's the case, if they're buying liquidation, are they buying from the same places that that TJ Maxx is buying from, which I know is legitimate, or are they buying liquidation from, I don't know, liquidation.com, where it's really not the best, doesn't have the best provenance. Now, outside of that, when I see suppliers like this say, oh, we've got a daily FBA list, and here's the ASIN to go along with the products that we have for sale, chances are the margins are going to be slim, and they're going to get worse, because it's probably going to be very, very easy to open up an account with them. And in my opinion, you actually want people to push back when it's time to open up an account with a wholesale supplier. Like, there should be a little bit of friction there. That way, the people who are not strong enough to overcome that don't get those accounts, and you do.
So there's certain buzzwords, right? Like just the word pallet. I mean, I immediately associate that with liquidations. It's like,
yeah,
it's like people that name their store use the word flips. Like I just, if I was a customer, I'm not buying something from somebody that has resell or flip in their name. Like, because it's like, okay, they bought this cheaper and they're selling it for a higher price, which I know that's what everyone does, but I don't want the name of your company to rub it in my face. That's a little pet peeve.
Right. And honestly, I mean, if we think about it, look, like, you should be modeling the people that you want to become. The Pattern does not call themselves Pattern Flips, or whatever.
Right.
It's Pattern. PharmaPax was never, PharmaPax Flipping, or PharmaPax Resale. It's just PharmaPax. It's a stupid but professional name. So, P's an IP complaint for a product claiming counterfeit without a test buy. One person suggested I can ignore it until it drops. I would not do that. I did buy from a legit source, so that is not an issue. But if it gets cleared with proof of invoice of the distributor, should I pull the listing? It depends. If it was sent from, if the complainant is 123@qq.com, I would not pull the listing. If the complainant was, Jim at thebrand.com, then I might even reach out and be like, hey, what's going on here? I'm buying this from a legitimate supplier. Do we have an issue? Do you not want third-party sellers? Because maybe there's just a misunderstanding, a miscommunication. So it really depends on whether I would pull the listing or not.
And definitely take a look at what is going on as far as the seller count on the listing. Try to get an idea of, how many of those letters or how many of those complaints were sent out at a time, and it'll give you an idea, or at least a hint, of what other sellers are doing too.
Yeah. Let's see here. How often does Amazon ask for proof of legitimate suppliers? And what do I need to do so I'm prepared? How often? They're not usually coming to you and just saying, hey, it's time for an Amazon audit or anything like that. It's typically when there's a problem. Is there a counterfeit claim? Is there an IP issue? Is there, did someone complain about something? You just need to keep excellent records. Make sure that you're buying from legitimate suppliers. And yes, that includes Walmart and Target and all those other places. But the other thing that means is keep track of your receipts, keep track of your shipping confirmations, your order confirmations, your credit card information, and be able to draw a line between all of these things and like discount gift cards and things, if at all possible. All right, and so I guess we're gonna run through these just a little bit. To be quite honest, I'm on a family vacation and I can see people starting to get antsy, so I'm gonna try to run through these. Hey, I used to be able to request payment every 24 hours, but all of a sudden this past 2 weeks, I can't anymore. And the next payout is on June 22. Any thoughts or advice? I don't know why that would have changed. I would imagine the only thing you can do is reach out and open a case. This might be one of those things where you actually need to get on the phone. And when one person can't help you, say, hey, thank you for your time. This is not really helpful. May I speak to your supervisor? Until you get to someone who is actually able to help you with that kind of issue. I'm not sure why that would have changed. All right, here comes actually one of my favorite questions. What is your pricing strategy when the buy box is suppressed? So, my personal opinion is not to have a knee-jerk reaction. Because what a lot of people do, in my opinion, is they see a buy box get suppressed and they're automatically, I got to lower this price. I got to get that buy box back. Here's the thing, okay? A buy box suppression does not necessarily mean that the sales stop. Yes, in most cases, you will see that there is some slowdown of the sales velocity, but it does not mean that it will stop completely. And if I'm not able to be profitable at a lower price, or it's not at a profit point that I want, I'm willing to allow the sales velocities to slow down in return for a larger margin on that product. Now, if it's just suppressed because it's priced at a point where the market just will not bear it, then you have to figure out, okay, well, how much can I drop the price and still be profitable? And am I willing to do that? And if you are, then to say, okay, well, I'll take the lower margin for the sales, and you just try to drop your price until that buy box comes back, or people start buying it again. There is this invisible hand, and it will say, you know what, we'll pay this. We're not going to pay this. I actually saw a great example of it today, and I wanted to grab a screenshot of it, but I was on mobile, and I kind of wanted to like dive deep into it. So, yeah. Anything I'm missing there?
No, yeah. I mean, it depends on what that suppression does to velocity. If it was already suppressed when you sourced it, I certainly don't let it affect, my sourcing decision. I love suppressed buy boxes because I know a whole lot of sellers are going to avoid it just because of that.
Yeah. Sadiq, Jassim, Perry, and Jeff. It's time to think bigger. Thanks for dropping the fire pods, boys. Absolutely. Chris and I talked about having these large sellers on, and is it the right thing to do for the community? Is it the right thing to do for the audience that we built and are building? Because is it relatable, to the sell? Not everyone wants to get to 13 or 25 or $100 million. And I hope that most people don't want to get there, because that's not where you necessarily need to be fulfilled, But if you want to, one of the reasons that I like to have folks like this on the show is, honestly, maybe it's a little bit of a kick to the ribs to the PL sellers a little bit, who say that, You can't scale arbitrage, you know. And then the other thing is, I just want people to understand that the ceiling is a lot higher than what we think it is. You know, Pattern is going to do over $1 billion in sales this year, if I'm not mistaken. They're an arbitrage seller. I mean, we can call it whatever we want, brand direct, or we can give it some fancy name. No, they're arbitraging a product from a brand onto Amazon, and they're collecting the profits in between. Now, do they offer some additional services for those profits? Yes, maybe they do some brand management, maybe they do some enhanced brand content and things like that. So yeah, there are some additional services rendered, but at the end of the day, they're arbitraging product from one marketplace where the price is lower to a marketplace where the price is higher. Any recommendations to grow my review count? Currently, I'm sending reviews requests through Seller Board, but it's not working that well. This is an answer that usually irritates people. Just sell more and don't worry about it so much. A big portion of Amazon buyers do not have emails turned on from sellers. Nothing you can do about it. You can send them emails until you're blue in the face. Now, you could try to go directly through the Amazon manage order screen and use that little request review button and see if maybe Amazon pushes that one through. But there's not really anything else you can do.
Yeah, just a numbers game. I mean, if they don't necessarily have to be positive, you could start FBMing more orders. You know, you'll get all sorts of reviews, good and bad.
Hashim, I want to be an Amazon seller. I know nothing about shipping to customers, let alone ship to Amazon. Any advice where I can learn? Well, you are more than welcome to look at all the videos that we have done. You're kind of in the right place. We've got a backlog of over 50 podcasts that you can learn from. I think we're on week 6 or 7 in a row of lives with no end in sight where you can ask questions. But if you specifically need to know about shipping to Amazon, you need to go to Amazon Seller University. Sell.amazon.com has all of that information for you to learn from. Let's see here. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your vacation. Appreciate it, Luke. Interviews have been wonderful. Listen to them. I listen over to them. Reminds me of what's possible. I appreciate that. Anthony, my first review was negative. Yeah, negatives, man, they happen. They suck, unfortunately. So, all right, guys. I think that is going to be it for this week. We're going to wrap it up there. Yes, sir.
I did. I just one thing that I'd forget if we push it next week. I love flipping weird stuff. I love stories of people who flip really odd stuff. And have you? I don't know if you've ever sold any. What do we call them? Hair alternatives. But I bought a wig for 25 cents, and I'm gonna try to flip it. Because it's a small price to pay.
Oh, that
segues into dad joke of the week.
Right. That was I do not have one ready, unfortunately. Right. But that was good. That was unbelievable. Okay. All right. That's it for us, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And make sure to like and share this to keep yourself safe from the next fee that Amazon's thinking about charging. And we'll see you guys next week.